Love and light, brothers and sisters. So, I know I've talked a lot about all kinds of things I find interesting. I've put all kinds of books up about things that I find interesting, valuable. And so I've tried to help share my journey of attempting to understand creation and the universe and myself. And I've tried to share some of that and increase maybe your understanding. But I just like to stress and reiterate something that has been repeatedly shown to me as important, and that is that we're not meant to understand this. Not all of it. We're meant to understand what's relevant for our particular missions and lives and experiences. But there's a lot of other stuff out there that's not relevant because there's a lot of different stories happening. So what is relevant for you may not be relevant for someone else. Like, it may not be relevant at all for you to understand anything about reptilians or anything like that, to be worrying about that at all. So what I'm trying to say is that the experience of infinity, the experience of being unboundedness, or being unbound, the experience of silence, the direct experience of something beyond your mind's understanding, and then to allow that experience to become your reality, to sit in it, in a sense, is to give up, to allow the mind to give up on attempting to understand the ineffable, the infinite, the truly mystical. So in some ways we will need understanding, and that is the light. And understand, it is very different to be able to access infinite intelligence as holding infinite intelligence. Like in the beginning, when I first started to access some of these states and when I would see other channelers, sometimes I thought like I should just have all the knowledge downloaded into my head at once, like all the data in the universe at once. But all the data in the universe equals zero, because it's all moving in every direction at once. You know, everything plays out every possible way. It all equals zero or infinity, which is truly the same thing. Zero is an expression of infinity. It's only humans that don't understand it's the same thing. It's perception which separates it into zero and infinity. They are one thing. So again, I am trying to stress the importance of the heart over the mind. That again, as so many other people say this, because it's really the only message we need to get. Heart-mind coherence, which is the state where everything in you flows in the same direction, all with the same purpose. And you give everything that you do 100% of your energy instead of the 1% that we normally give it, because we're moving in so many other ways with so many other desires. You become single-pointed in your purpose of being, which is to express love. That's the purpose of our being. To experience love, to express love, to share love, and to learn more about ourselves through love. So again, knowledge is great, but and let's not confuse again knowledge with information, because that is not the same thing. Knowledge does transcend perception, but love and being transcend knowledge, to the point that you can sit there and have every book in the world, and there are plenty of mystics out there and scholars, and I love what they do. I love that stuff. You know, I'm drawn to that myself. that type of knowledge is heavily within my ray. It's heavily within my higher self and my connection to Archangel Jophiel and Thoth, as some people have pointed out recently. But again, the supremacy of the goddess's love must be apparent for any of that information to be valuable, because otherwise, without the love, without the wisdom, that knowledge will be turned against our purpose. We will create things antithetical to our purpose. So knowledge without love is worse than meaningless. It is destructive. So again, put your focus on silence, on direct being, because all the books in the world will not bring you to the truth. They will not. You are the truth. If you have not experienced the truth directly, there should be nothing else. And that's a silly thing to say because it's not real, but it may seem that way to you if you have been living within a certain loop of consciousness for a long enough period of time, living within certain routines. Then it may seem like you're not experiencing anything true because you aren't. You're not within that loop anyways. But you exist outside of the loop, so you are. It's a paradox, understandably. All reality is paradoxical. That's the truth of it, or our experience of it. But again, so if you have not experienced the truth, or even if you have, but you haven't returned to it recently, put down whatever book, put down whatever study you're doing, and listen to silence. Just feel. That's what it means to listen to silence. It does mean to listen. That helps, because that helps the mind to understand, or maybe for you to understand past the mind. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but for you to hear that you exist without the mind. So that's a type of understanding that can be had. But in conjunction with that, and more powerful to that, is the feeling. Is to breathe here, is to feel here. So you'll notice when you do this, when you just sit in silence, ignore the mind, the mind may come or go or not, but you will notice a feeling of tension maybe come up or something at certain points, and then release. It'll come and release, expansion, release. Like this is you leveling up in frequency, expanding out, releasing from a knot, an energetic knot. Like, because if your energy if you have been thinking about certain things, if you have been doing the same routines, then your energy begins to flow in a certain pattern. And eventually that pattern becomes a knot. And eventually those knots knot up more knots, and this tangle becomes a person. But that's not you. That is just a mess you made. Silence relaxes it, and the knot unwinds.